Hello and welcome to the Unshakable Co-Parent Podcast. Welcome to any new listeners and welcome back if you have been listening for a while. Really appreciate you listening. Really appreciate you giving a review if you can do, if you're a listener, and sharing any episode that you feel will resonate with anyone that you know, especially if they're dealing with a high conflict co-parenting situation. So here on this podcast, I keep it real, keep it raw, and share what's on my heart. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about ahead of time, sometimes not. It's just really what's happening and what I've noticed and patterns that I notice or anything that gets downloaded basically from the work that I do and the content that I put out there. And when I say downloaded, I mean things that come to me. So today I'm going to talk about something that I guess I'm going to put a little bit of a trigger warning on this because it's something that I remembered because somebody reached out to me and I haven't seen them for a very, very, very long time, but spoke to them recently. They reached out to me. Anyway, I'm putting a trigger warning on this because I'm going to be talking about some not so nice things. Just if you have children in the car or you just don't want to listen, that's absolutely fine. Maybe tune in to another episode next time. But grab yourself a tea, coffee, wine, kombucha, whatever tickles your fancy, and we're going to get into it. Okay, so 20 odd years ago when I went to university, I made friends with this lovely woman. I don't think she listens, but I'm not going to give any personal details. And we became very friendly. She was about 10 years older than me at the time. So it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, I want to say. I was about 20 and she was in her early 30s. Now we struck up a friendship. She was really lovely, is still really lovely. I haven't seen her in about 20 years, but she did reach out to me recently because we are still in contact. So I managed to track her down a few years back to, just check in with her and see what she was up to. But why I'm sharing this today is because my journey, this whole growth evolution started long ago. I've always been someone who people feel safe around, to share, to kind of open up to me without me asking them to. They just feel like they gravitate towards me. And I'm a good listener. I'm a good holder of space. Always have been, always will be. It's one of my, I guess, superpowers. I'm very good at gaining perspective and really feeling into what people need and need from me, depending on who it is. It really doesn't matter who it is. It's just back in those days, I didn't know how to protect my energy. I didn't know how to have boundaries, and I was wide open, basically. So anyway, this is where I want to just reiterate the trigger warning here. She opened up to me. I was, 19, maybe 20 at the time. She opened up to me because she was married with 2 children. And she shared with me that her husband was physically abusive to her. Now, I had never known anyone personally who had been through that, not to my knowledge. So it was the first time that anyone had ever shared with me that I'd known was experiencing something like that. So she shared with me that he was physically abusive to her. I can't remember whether it was still happening at the time, but definitely throughout their marriage. And that one of her children was the result of non-consensual sex, if that makes sense. So obviously hearing this from someone who was my friend, someone who was older than me, I'd never heard anything like this come from anyone's mouth before that I knew and was speaking to. And she was, sharing this so openly. I just gave her a big hug and I could just feel so much pain, so much anguish, so much hurt. A lot of things have happened. I'm just really skimming the surface with this, sharing this with you. But it was a very emotionally not charged conversation. It was heartbreaking, I guess, because this was a, sweet person, very sweet woman, very timid, very lovely, very smart, very intelligent, and had so many great qualities, which still does. But that really, I guess hearing that from someone that I knew really, it changed me at that point. Anyway, we remained friends, finished uni, we stayed in contact for a little while, and then lost touch for like 15 years until I tracked her down. Anyway, so I'd want to share that with you, how, and that gives you a bit of perspective into me as a person, because a lot of people come to me, especially a lot of new people who don't know much about me, my past, my background, my approach, my whole journey, and how I've evolved and grown. I mean, I guess nobody really knows, because I've never actually put everything out there, because it's just, it's not really that interesting. But I had another friend who, years later, who also shared with me, and she was also about 10 years older than me, was married to someone who was physically abusive to her, and I didn't know. We were not friends, we were acquaintances, so I saw her occasionally. We crossed paths due to how things were working out. I'm not going to share too many details. And she shared that with me, and I had no idea. This is someone who was prominent, I guess, well known, let's say. So yeah, I guess really the point of what I'm trying to say is we never really know what's going on with someone or with people unless or until they feel safe enough to share with us. And I know if you're listening here, you have been in that position and that situation, maybe not due to abuse of that kind, but varying degrees of the same thing: emotional and psychological abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse, whatever it may be. Abuse is abuse as far as I'm concerned. But my observation with that is both of these women are still married to these men, and that's their choice. Like, I will never tell anyone to leave anyone. I am literally there to listen, to hold space, to provide guidance. And even at the tender age of 19, 20, when the first friend shared that with me, I was just there with her. I sat with her and we cried together. And then my other friend, acquaintance, when I found out, I was shocked, not surprised, but shocked that I was a lot older. Like, this was maybe, how long ago was it? Maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. So yeah, but she never told me face to face, even though we did see each other face to face. It was on a phone call because she was asking for some advice. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. The point is, we can be going through all kinds of different versions of a nightmare behind closed doors, and no one would ever know. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. This does not discriminate. It doesn't matter your demographic, your age, race, education level, how much money you have, how much money you don't have, whether you speak English or not. These are people who, and I get a lot of people who cross my paths who you would not think are experiencing or have experienced what they have done. So I know if you're listening here, you know what that feels like, to have to live a lie and have to cover up and have to pretend, even to yourself, maybe to your children as well, that everything's fine and everything's shiny. However, it's your choice what you decide to do. And me, as the coach and mentor that I am, and how I've evolved over the years and how I continue to expand, I'm always up leveling my growth, and with that, so does my support, so do my program, so does every piece of content that I put out there, so does the level of guidance that I give my clients. It's amazing to see the growth in them, and I wonder if I'd known these two women in a different time, as in now, how different things would be. Because we're talking like 20 years ago for that other friend, for the first friend, and about 7-8 years ago for the other woman. So you may have experienced something similar to these women. You may know someone who has experienced or is experiencing that. And I will urge you, and it goes without saying, I'm sure you know this, if you can hold space for someone. We don't always have to have the answers. We don't have to always find solutions. We just need to be there to listen, to be that ear, to be that shoulder, to be that support in whatever capacity they need us to be in, but obviously not to the detriment of ourselves, not to the detriment to our own safety, not to the detriment of our own well-being and mental and emotional capacity either. The work that I do, I give a lot to my clients. Like energetically, I have to, and it's not a job for me. It doesn't feel like a job. It's just what I've been put here to do. I'm here to guide, support, mentor, uplift, and help women rise. I know without doubt that's what I've been put here to do, in whatever capacity that is. Now, it's not something that is second nature to every single person out there. I do understand that. But there are, I feel, a select few people who understand what I'm saying if you're listening to this right now, especially if you identify as an empath or a highly sensitive. And I think it's a wonderful thing to have those traits. However, in the wrong hands, they will be taken advantage of and they will be used against you, and they can destroy you if you're unaware and you don't know how to protect yourself. You don't know how to set boundaries. Like, I was wide open. Now, these two women, they didn't take from me in any way, shape, or form. I chose to be how I was with them and give them what I could in terms of my time, my energy, and the holding of space, being that safe container for them. Now, we also need to be the safe container for ourselves. Now, we don't necessarily have the tools to do that. That's why when we can, or if we can find someone like a coach, like a mentor, who can be that safe container for you until you have the skills, the tools, the space, the grounding to be that for yourself, you can then carry that torch on and be that for your children. That's ultimately where I'm going with this, although it doesn't seem like it's connected, it is fully connected. How we can grow and evolve, how we can hold space, how do we do that for ourselves, and how do we or how can we do that for our children? So that's something I want you to think about. How am I holding space for myself first and foremost? Am I there for myself? Do I nurture myself? Do I lift myself up? And if I can't, or I don't know how to, can I find someone who knows how, or how can I learn how to do it? How can I get the skills to be able to do that? Because ultimately then you can do that and be that for your children. And they are watching, they need you, they're looking to you. I shared this on one of our coaching calls, that you are their battery pack. Now, if you are on empty, you have nothing to give. So keeping yourself topped up, fully charged in whatever shape or form that takes. Obviously, self-care, super important. We all know that. But cultivating yourself and forging yourself of something new, especially after experiencing what you've experienced, and especially after enduring what you are currently going through, because it hasn't stopped, it hasn't ended. Okay, so I really want to share that with you. This was more of a candid episode, a bit more, somber, because I'm remembering and reflecting back. And this, first friend has come back into my life. Such a wonderful person, but, I haven't seen her for 20 years, or over 20 years, I think. So, yeah, you all know, you'll have experiences like that. So, in summary, hold space for yourself, hold space for others if and when you can do. But more importantly, you need to be able to hold space for yourself so that you can be that safe container for others. And when I say others, because you're listening to this, I mean your children. Okay, if you need help with that, you can reach out to me at Unshakable Co-Parenting over at Instagram. I have programs, I have freebies, I have resources, free resources, paid resources that can help you along your journey. Sometimes people don't want the full transformation, or people can't even envision becoming unshakable as fuck because they're just too in the weeds, because there's too much happening. So if you need to get out of the weeds first, that is the space where then you can have your blinkers off and start thinking, right, now I'm ready for more. and I'm ready for more, and I'm ready for more. As you grow and evolve and you shift out of, once you've cleared the co-parenting drama and chaos and you have a bit more capacity left to start living your life, that is when things start to shift for you. And that's where the real, work, quote unquote, work kicks in. Anyway, I hope this episode made sense. This one was a bit of, ad hoc, just some things that happened and it reminded me of a few things, and I thought I'd share that message with you. So please share with anyone who you feel would benefit from listening to this, or anyone you feel needs to listen to this. Please give me a 5-star rating if you could do, because more people need to hear about this. More people need to know that there is help available. There are resources out there. A lot of people come to me and one of the first things they say is, I didn't even know there was help out there for this. I didn't know it was a thing. I just thought I just had to grin and bear it and deal with it. No, you don't. That's not an option. We rise. Okay? So with that, take care of yourself. I will love you and leave you. Until next time, goodbye.